Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 7 o'clock main news. In tonight's headlines, Palestinians and Israel start a new day of negotiations with the Palestinians hopeful of a breakthrough. Iraq's Nouri al-Maliki steps down as Prime Minister, caving in to international and domestic pressure to give up his post to Haider al-Abadi. Pakistani police killed 10 militants after they attacked an airbase as politically driven clashes break out in Gujranwala. And a medical institution says the outbreak of Ebola in West Africa will take about 6 months to bring under control. His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, sent a cable of congratulations to Her Excellency the President of South Korea, Park Geun-hye, on the occasion of her country's National Day. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince, Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, sent a cable of congratulations to Her Excellency the President of South Korea, Park Geun-hye, on the occasion of her country's National Day. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al-Mbarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency the President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince, Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency the President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al-Mbarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. Palestinian leaders have confirmed that negotiations with Israelis in Cairo are under great progress and a lasting ceasefire agreement will be announced soon. More with Majd al-Wahidi from Gaza.
After days of shaky diplomacy, Palestinian leaders said that great progress had been made in the talks and a long-term agreement would be announced soon. More details came in a press conference held by Khalil al-Hayya, a leader of Hamas movement and one of the negotiators in the Palestinian delegation.
We
want to end the Israeli blockade forever. But when we went to Egypt, we found that the enemy keeps manipulating the word. All the issues were formulated on the negotiation table, and this is why we agreed to extend the truce to give a chance for reaching an agreement.
This agreement means ending Israel's military offensive and the blockade, expanding the fishing zone in addition to increasing imports into Gaza, especially construction materials. And according to local sources, the construction of an airport and seaport demands will be discussed a month after signing the agreement. But for Israel, facilitating Gaza's reconstruction will only happen if the enclave is fully disarmed. However, this condition is still unanswered. And many are wondering, what is the Israeli interest in accepting a lasting agreement with Hamas if its demands are not met?
The Israeli condition to disarm the Palestinian groups and mainly Hamas in the Gaza Strip will not be met at this moment because the Palestinians are saying this is an issue that will be discussed in the final status issues with Israel. While the Israeli occupation continues, that gives the Palestinians the right to keep their weapons, but we might witness in the coming future restrictions on the by the UN, by other international agencies who might try to restrict the ability of Hamas to smuggle weapons into the Gaza Strip.
While politicians negotiate and debate, people here live in the shadow of war and destruction. Their only hopes are an effective chance to pick up their lives again. The coming days are crucial and any change will carry the future of the Palestinians. While most believe that Gaza has suffered a lot in this war, others insist that the unity of the Palestinian resistance factions in their demands could mean victory against all odds. Majd al-Wahidi, Kuwait TV, Gaza.
Iraq's Nouri al-Maliki has stepped down as Prime Minister, caving into international and domestic pressure to give up his post to a rival politician. The move diffuses a political deadlock that has plunged Iraq into uncertainty and opens way for the formation of a new government that could take on a growing insurgency by militants that has engulfed much of the country. Al-Maliki made the announcement on national television late on Thursday, standing alongside senior members of his Islamic Dawah party, including rival Haider al-Abadi. The move received positive reactions from across the world as the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon commended al-Maliki's decision, saying it serves the best interests of Iraq. US President Barack Obama has called the nomination of Haider al-Abadi a positive step for Iraq. European Union foreign ministers were holding an emergency meeting today in Brussels to discuss the crisis in Iraq. France's decision this week to arm Kurdish fighters in the battle against militants marked a turning point in Europe's wavering stance on Iraq, with the meeting today seeking to forge a unified response to the insurgents' advance. The ministers were set to decide on a joint Iraq policy regarding humanitarian aid and arms deliveries, specifically on whether European weaponry can be sent directly to Kurdish forces or would have to go through the government in Baghdad. The conditions there are continuously deteriorating, with the UN saying that over 1 million Iraqis remain displaced from their homes after militants took over large parts of northern Iraq. Pakistani police confirmed today that 10 attackers were killed when security forces foiled an assault on 2 air bases in the country's southwest the previous day. Police Chief Mohammed Amlish said 7 security personnel were also wounded late on Thursday when attackers stormed the air bases in Quetta, the capital of southwestern Baluchistan province. Amlish said the attackers used guns and grenades while trying to enter the Smungli and Khalid air bases located on a complex near the city's airport. Today, security forces searched the area for evidence and removed some of the bodies of the attackers from the scene. No one claimed responsibility, but nationalist groups have waged low insurgency in Baluchistan to pressure the government for a fairer share of local resources. Clashes broke out in the Pakistan city of Gujranwala today between supporters of 2 rival politicians. The clashes came as supporters of cricketer turned politician Imran Khan headed in a convoy to the capital Islamabad for a massive rally meant to pressure Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to resign over allegations of rigging last year's parliamentary elections. The second convoy was that of supporters of firebrand cleric Tahirul Qadri, who commands a strong following through his network of mosques and religious schools in Pakistan. Khan's aides said as his truck passed through Gujranwala, about 200 kilometers from Islamabad, dozens of Sharif's supporters pelted it with shoes and stones, but he was unharmed. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has voiced dismay at the government's infighting he found on assuming office in May and vowed to fire up the bureaucracy to deliver results in a country desperately in need of growth and development. On the occasion of India's 68th Independence Day today, a wave of patriotism filled the air as Modi unfurled the national flag and addressed thousands of people at the historic podium from the ramparts of 17th century Red Fort, from where Mughal kings ruled Delhi for 2 centuries. Delivering his first Independence Day speech, Modi emphasized the need for better governance, but announced none of the sweeping market reforms that many who handed him India's biggest election mandate in 3 decades have been awaiting. He also announced he would replace the Central Planning Commission that for decades guided the country's socialist-style economy with a more modern institution, in addition to speaking of the need to strengthen India's manufacturing sector, and appealed repeatedly to investors to come and make in India. Modi also expressed his concern about violence against women. Russia let Ukrainian officials inspect an aid convoy today and agreed to let the Red Cross distribute the aid around the rebel-held city of Luhansk, easing tensions and dispelling Ukrainian fears that the aid operation is a ruse to get military help to separatist rebels. Laurent Korbaz, the International Committee of the Red Cross head of operations in Europe and Asia, earlier described a tentative plan in which the trucks would enter Ukraine with a single Russian driver each, as opposed to the crew of several people currently in each truck, accompanied by a Red Cross worker. He told journalists in Kiev that in line with Red Cross policy, there would be no military escort. Korbaz said the plan involved the aid being delivered to a central point in rebel-held territory, then distributed throughout the region. South Korean President Park Geun-hye expressed her hope today that 2015 would be a turning point in her country's relations with Japan. In her speech marking the 69th anniversary of South Korea's independence from Japanese colonialism, Park also asked Japanese leaders to act wisely so that the 2 countries can walk towards a new future built on trust and friendship. She also urged North Korea to give up its nuclear program and to stop test-firing missiles into South Korea, stressing it wouldn't be tolerated. Yesterday, North Korea fired 5 projectiles into the sea, while the South was welcoming Pope Francis into the country. The medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières, or the MSF, today said the outbreak of Ebola in West Africa will take about 6 months to bring under control. Speaking in Geneva, MSF President Joan Louis called for strengthened international coordination led by the World Health Organization. Louis said that controlling the outbreak in Liberia, which has recorded more than 300 deaths, was vital to containing the epidemic. Earlier, WHO said the scale of the outbreak appeared to be vastly underestimated, adding that extraordinary measures were needed to tackle the crisis. The epidemic began in Guinea in February and has since spread to Liberia, Sierra Leone and Nigeria, killing 1,069 people so far. The Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus commemorated their Peace and Freedom Day with planned celebrations and activities held throughout the country. The island of Cyprus has remained divided into Greek and Turkish sides since a Greek Cypriot coup was followed by a Turkish peace mission to aid Turkish Cypriots in the north in 1974. In February 2014, talks resumed with an aim to reach a solution for the Cyprus problem. Sarah Ferris-Glubb has more about the celebrations in this report from the capital, Lefkosia.
The Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus invited senior officials, parliamentarians, foreign media representatives, and distinguished guests from across the world to attend and participate in the celebrations marking the 40th anniversary of the 20th of July Peace and Freedom Day.
20th of July is a very important day for us. It is for this reason that we call it Peace and Freedom Day. As you know, if Turkey had not intervened on the 20th of July 1974, the coup d'etat that had taken place by Greece and the Greek Cypriots on the 15th of July 1974 would have ended in the total annihilation, mass murder of the Turkish Cypriots. In fact, this is also included in the so-called Akritas plan as a systematic plan of destruction of the Republic of Cyprus and of the Turkish Cypriots. It is for this reason that we call it Peace and Freedom Day, and we are celebrating it under this name. As you know, there are two parties at the negotiating table, and both sides must transmit their will, their political will, at the negotiating table. As you know, we have said yes to two successive United Nations plans for the solution of the Cyprus problem. The first was in 1985-1986, named after the then Secretary General of the United Nations, Perez de Cuellar, and then the second one was under Kofi Annan, the then Secretary General Kofi Annan. And in the first instance, I had passed the De Cuellar plan through Parliament to prove our sincerity for a federal solution.
The Cypriot issue is one of the most important issues on the international level. In the UN, we annually discuss this as it is a hot topic. Our main objective is to be realistic because this 50-year-old problem cannot go on like this. Today, the situation is in accordance with the ceasefire agreement in which the two sides are able to live together, but this is not a permanent solution. All the members of the Security Council are aware of the issue, and in 2014, negotiations between the two sides resumed with backing of both the UN and the EU. We hope through these negotiations we will reach a more sustainable, positive and lasting agreement between both parties, and if any issues regarding consensus or progress arise, then the UN can intervene and fill these gaps to reach a sustainable referendum. So, regardless, we will stay optimistic and keep our determination.
With the attendance of outgoing Turkish President His Excellency Abdullah Gül, the main ceremony took place at the Dr. Fazil Kushuk Boulevard in the capital Lefkosia and included various speeches, a military parade and traditional dances and performances.
We are commemorating the 40th anniversary of the landing of the peace troops from Turkey in response to an attempt to unite Cyprus with Greece by the Greek Cypriots. In 1974, Turkey intervened under her powers arising from 1960 Treaty of Guarantees, the right to intervene in Cyprus to re-establish the state of affairs created by the 1960 Constitution. And since that time on, there has been no fighting in Cyprus. Two communities are living side by side, and we are trying to establish a united Cyprus under a federal settlement.
Aside from the packed agenda that included briefings, tours, and visits to various institutions, the Solo Turk and Turkish Stars aerobatics team delivered a breathtaking performance in the Girne skies as part of the framework for this year's celebrations. With the attendance of the Turkish President, His Excellency Abdullah Gül, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus commemorated their 40th anniversary of their Peace and Freedom Day with a host of ceremonies and spectacles that depicted their traditional heritage. From the Presidential Palace in Lefkosia, Sarah Good reporting for English News.
For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And to recap tonight's news, here are the headlines once again. Palestinians and Israel start a new day of negotiations with the Palestinians hopeful of a breakthrough. Iraq's Nouri al-Maliki steps down as Prime Minister, caving into international and domestic pressure to give up his post to Haider al-Abadi. Pakistani police killed 10 militants after they attacked an airbase as politically driven clashes break out in Gujranwala. And a medical institution says the outbreak of Ebola in West Africa will take about 6 months to bring under control. Thank you for joining us.